Okay, so now that we are on record, I'm Gustavo. I'm one of External Secrets Operators maintainer. I've been a maintainer since last year, I guess, like end of last year. And I'm here to talk about the project updates that we've had so far. Currently, ESO is on release 0.5.7. We tend to release every 2 or 3 weeks. And every release actually has feature or bug fixes. It's like we're fully on speed here. So it can be hard to track what's new and what's noteworthy to be done. If you go onto the next slide, Ben, I am going to talk about 7 features. Bear with me. The slides, I actually didn't prepare it in a very, I don't know, markety way. So it's a lot of texts. On each of these features, you can also see a QR code there. This QR code is going to link you either to the GitHub issue that I'm talking or to the external secrets documentation page if you want to know more about. The first feature that I want to talk briefly is the deletion policy. This is a feature that was introduced in version 0.5.0. And what it does, it allows us to delete the secret in the cloud provider once it gets created. So on our right here, we can see what it is, a typical external secrets definition for Kubernetes. So we have a custom resource called external secrets. And to use this new feature, all we have to do is specify a deletion policy here. What a deletion policy does, the default behavior of external secrets operator is to not delete any secrets that got synced from a cloud provider. And for some environments, this is not ideal. We actually want to enforce the secrets deletion. This can be either due to some compliance going on, some regulations, or simply to avoid having a lot of trash, a lot of secrets that are not useful anymore. So when we specify as deletion policy delete, every time that the secret gets deleted from the secrets provider, we also delete it in our own Kubernetes cluster where the external secrets operator is running. If you want to know more, you can also check the QR code. The possible values are retain. This is the default one where we don't touch anything. Delete and merge. Merge is for some advanced use cases, I'd say, but it's nice to learn and to know about if you're interested at. Can you please go to the next slide, Ben, please? The next one is a feature request made by the community for a while. It's called fetch secrets. This is one way that we can do to get multiple secrets from the provider into a single Kubernetes secrets. So the idea is that from a single Kubernetes secrets, we can get information into a single Kubernetes secrets, we can get multiple provider information. This is very useful for some providers like HashiCorp Vault or AWS or Azure Key Vault. And the way that we can do it is just define a find operation. This find operation currently can work either by finding secrets that matches a given regular expression or by finding secrets that matches a given tag sets. So if we want to sync all of the secrets from a given app, from a given environment, it is possible to do that with only 4 lines of YAML, where before this feature, you would probably need to type a lot or have some way of templating. It could be kind of boring. Again, if you want to know more about this feature, you can check the QR code. This feature is currently available only for the what we call internally maintained providers, which are the biggest ones. So AWS, HashiCorp Vault, Azure Key Vault, and GCP. But PRs are very welcome for any other community maintained provider. We would actually actually appreciate any help there. Next slide, please. Bear with me, we are almost there. I will try to go a little bit fast so this is not boring as hell for you. One feature that I really wanted to mention here is the cluster external secrets. This is a completely new resource that we have. And what it does, it allows us to create several external secrets into multiple namespaces automatically. think of there are certain sensitive information that we want several app teams to have. Instead of having to manually provision external secrets individually into each namespace, we can simply have one single cluster external secret handle this information. And behind the sheets, what it's actually doing is creating simple external secrets across multiple namespaces. And it handles the lifecycle of these external secrets. It's a tool to help very big deployments. It was actually proposed to do that. It was a feature developed by someone at DigitalOcean with that need. And it's actually quite nice to have. So once more, if you want to know more about it, just check the QR code. Next one is the metadata policy. These next two ones, they are actually very recent. This was introduced in this version 0.5.7. Not only now we can sync our secret information, but we can also sync our tags, the information from the tags themselves into our secrets. There are some cases that we want to do that, especially to verify when the secret was created, if it was created by an external process. And the way that we can do it is by specifying a metadata policy. I'm putting in red where the field is here. So when we put this metadata policy fetch, we're basically telling that the source, instead of looking at the secrets contents, I'm going to look at the tags value, at the labels, or the metadata. It depends on the provider, and this will be synced accordingly. The only caveat with this feature is that since it's currently new, it's only available for 2 providers. We are working to make it available for the rest of them. And of course, contributions are also very welcome. The last one that I want to talk here, it's that feature that we just figured out recently. When we were creating the version 0.5, one of our objectives was to make some rail guards, some safeguards for users to not create invalid configuration. And when we did that, we got an issue telling that one feature was missing, which was the reference namespace. We maintainers didn't even know this feature was there. That's why I even put this image. It's kind of like a bug, but then when we looked at it, we could see the feature behind it. It's a little bit complex to understand, but so valuable that I will spend a little bit more time on it. Can you go for the next slide, Ben, please? So this feature tried to solve one issue that is currently represented in this slide. So normally when we have a cluster secret store, we have it bound to a given permission, so a given service account. And this service account in this case is bound to a given HashiCorp Vault role, okay? So a team from a given namespace here, team 1 and team 2, both of them can create external secrets to download the information that they need. The thing is, with this setup, nothing is really stopping this team to get the information from this secret or vice versa. This can happen. And this is typically a breach. So normally the way that we would do to separate this is not use a cluster secret store here, but rather use secret store definitions, which can increase the number of resources that we need to maintain. That's when reference namespace come into play. Can you please go to the next slide, Ben? So with the reference cluster secret store, the only change is that we don't longer have the reference to that privileged service account. Instead, we have service accounts defined on the namespaces themselves. And by doing that with a single cluster secret store, we can still have that good flow from happening. But now instead of having a super role that could do everything, this access is based on the role where the external secrets live. So this is actually allows us for safer environments without having to create multiple resources. This is actually a very, very powerful new feature. And what we need to do to actually make it work, if you go to the next slide, we just need to not specify here on this line the namespace. When we do that, it will automatically have the reference namespace behavior on it. and it will allow us for this nice and clean setup. Cool, huh? For the next slide, please, Ben, I would just like to mention now very quickly what we are working for the next major release for ESO while we're not GA yet, so the 0.6. We're talking about two big features here. So the first one is the key rewrite. Both of them, all of the issues that I'm talking here are really asked by the community. So this one is to allow rewriting the secret keys into the Kubernetes secret before applying it. This is very useful when we use find operations, because we find operations we don't necessarily know at the time that when we are creating the external secret, what are the names, but we know how they are formed. So we can apply some rewrite operations here to have it established as the way that the application needs. This is currently on design phase. If you go to this QR code, you can check the PR where we're working on it. Next slide, please. Lastly, to not bore you to death anymore, we have the decoding strategy. This is also a pretty much requested feature. This is simply to avoid having to template secrets when they are encoded. So if we have a secret information that is encoded, for instance, is a library, a private library or a private file, or some certificates that we want to inject, right now you kind of need to do a lab to have ESO work with that. And using the decoding strategy, it will be much more simpler for users to apply them. I said that was my last thing, but I was lying to you, sorry. Last slide, I have some final words. So as our goal in External Secrets Operator, we do believe that our main goal is to bring quality of life without giving up on security when handling Kubernetes secrets and their whole life cycle. So in order to achieve that, we have three main big features that we see the project having. One of them is the ability to pull secrets from providers. This is the classic external secret that we've been talking about. The second one is the ability to push secrets back to the providers. This one is what the people here will talk a little bit more further on, so I won't give you any spoilers. And the last one is the ability to generate secrets. But what I really want to point here is that we really need your help. So if you like the project, if you want to know more, if you want to learn about Golang, if you want to learn about Kubernetes operators, we welcome you to use External Secrets Operator as a way to learn. We actually need the help. We have a lot of features that we need to develop, and we are short on arms as the maintainers. And even if you want to maintain, to be part of the maintaining team, we also welcome you. So just shout out, we are at #external secrets channel on Kubernetes Slack, or you can reach out directly to me at Gus F. Carvalho, this weird last name here. Okay, that's it for me. That's all the updates that I wanted to give you. So now up to Will.
Yeah. I just wanted to give people a chance. If anyone's got any questions that they'd like to ask, please feel free. We just wanted to give people a sense of what's coming up next on the project. You know, just to, yeah, it feels like things are changing quite fast at the moment. So I just wanted to be able to let people see what's happening. We're also applying for CNCF sandbox status at the moment as well. So there's a number of really exciting things happening around the project. You know, we'd love to talk to people about these things more. If anybody wants to ask us any questions, feel free to do it now or do it later on when we're in smaller groups. And I think at that point, it's time to hand over to the sort of final presentation.
Cool.
Are you guys there? Can we hear you?
Yeah, can you hear me?
We certainly can.
Cool, fantastic. All right, thanks, Gustavo, for the updates. That was pretty good, very competent. My presentation is a lot less technical, and it's sort of more focused on what we've been doing, like in regards to how we've been approaching this project. So yeah. So first, what I'm going to do is we're going to talk about my experience, like working on ESO, the general values that we try and aim towards the team. My colleague James will share some of his experiences working on ESO. And then I'll move on to like sort of discussing the push secret stuff. But before that, you know, I did English, so I like poetry, and I feel we do a lot of tech stuff. So I wrote us a little poem as for the ESO people. So I'm gonna read that. External secrets operator is a Kubernetes time saver. Pull your secrets into one place with synchronistic behavior. It takes your applications to a higher level like an elevator. Using methods written in Go, it is somewhat of a delegator. We achieve this with CRDs like secret store, custom resource definitions that point to a provider to build rapport. So of course, currently we can pull secrets, but we want something more. Here we develop the push secret CRD. Its aim is to let you create secrets in your cluster and sync them for free. Currently, we have implemented most of the functionality for GCP, Google Cloud Platform, and we're working to get the others up succinctly. So in summary, you can operate Kubernetes with secrets and feel relieved. Cool. So thanks, Charles. I appreciate that. Cool. So yeah, obviously, yeah, that poem is just kind of highlighting that, yeah, we are developing this push secret thing. Yeah, bit about me. My name is Will. I graduated from a coding boot camp last summer, and I've been working at Engineer Better since March. It's my first job in software, and I feel quite blessed to have found such a great environment. You know, everyone's like very supportive. If you could go to the next slide, Ben. Cheers. The beach in ESO, what is the beach, I guess, is the first thing. The beach is an initiative that we do at Engineer Better, which allows our engineers to have work to do while they're not outside on billable work. Recently, you know, we've been partnering up with our parent company, Container Solutions, who originally, you know, sort of had taken on this ESO project. And as part of this sort of, I guess, like merging of companies to a degree, you know, we're like cross-pollinating our engineers on both platforms. So recently, that's what the beach's focus has been on. It's been on contributing towards the ESO project. It's been pretty good, and I want to shout Gustavo because, you know, in my eyes, he's like the unofficial project lead, having, as I said, been an active maintainer and also the go-to guy when things start catching fire. Next slide, please, Ben. So I want to talk now a little bit about the personal benefits of the beach. One of the primary purposes of the beach in regards to ESO is upskilling for technical skills and soft skills. I feel like an open source project like ESO is perfect for this, as it offers a wide variety of technical challenges. Throughout the project, I've been exposed to many new technologies, including Kubernetes itself. Like I had no idea what is this Kubernetes before I joined. So in the last week, I've also worked with Terraform, Helm, and Concourse to create a pipeline that deploys HashiCorp Vault. And, you know, overall, like the whole experience has really helped me to develop my DevOps skills. And as well as my coding skills, you know, there's so much variety, and like I'm really sort of pleased that we've taken on this project. So as you can imagine, my learning has been quite expedited, and that is because it's project-based work. And you know, I think that's a blessing itself, because having a project to learn from is often a lot more engaging than just sort of learning like random disassociated courses, in my opinion. So those are like obviously the technical skills that ESO has helped offer us. In terms of the soft skills, one of my greatest takeaways is like has been learning how to embrace discomfort. I've definitely felt some points of frustration when working and trying to code a feature and not really know what to do. And dealing with these feelings as like engineers is one of the main parts of our jobs. So my main solution personally is like to try and think consciously, be aware of my feelings, and do things like take breaks. And I encourage everyone to obviously pay attention to their emotions and how you're feeling, and not like burn yourselves out, even though work can be challenging. And perhaps even more importantly, as a soft skill, is championing the relationships with your peers and helping each other to move forward together. Next slide, please, Ben. So, this general attitude of, helping each other out and working in pairs is, in my opinion, like one of the best sort of soft skills that you can get. The sum is often greater than its parts. And I think this is really reflected in the concept of pair programming. I'm not sure how many of you have pair programmed or, know much about it, but pair programming is something that I don't think is done as widely as it should be. And I think that it can often be a best practice. Why is this the case? The answer, as it always seems to do, well, a lot of the time anyway in life, I find, it lies in the people and the diversity of thoughts and skills that they bring. As I mentioned earlier, personally, I've been approaching lots of new technologies this week. And, in the worst case scenario is like a new dev, it can be frustrating, confusing, and demotivating. And even more so when I'm just like working solo and trapped inside my own head. However, this week I've learned a lot. I've been making consistent progress with ESO and, generally just been feeling high spirits. And I have to attribute this week to my amazing colleagues. So shout out to Lily and Arm, Lily being from EB and Arm being from CS, which again is kind of showing this how this culture of the two companies come together has really been great. Working together, we're able to like bring our experience and perspectives into issues that we face, which leads to collaboration and ideas that might be impossible to find by ourselves. And again, like my points here saying this really is coming back to this overall idea of community and what ESO is. It's like you could like build and maintain a big app by yourself, but it's not going to work out well in the long run. It's going to get a bit spaghetti at some point. But sort of hopping back, for me, like being able to work with these people is helpful because it allows us to upskill each other in other ways. Arm has helped me increase my Kubernetes knowledge greatly. And really it's just all about sort of honesty and working together as best you can. So I think you're maybe one slide ahead by accident. I may have thrown a false trigger, but anyway, I'll just carry on. So I've talked about some of my own experiences in regards to pair programming, but I want to like just take a moment to talk about more of the general benefits this work style can offer. So pairing generally will lead to safer code, as obviously you have two people to catch mistakes or bad practices. There's obviously a reason why most companies do code reviews. A trade-off is obviously development can be slower. However, we like to think about the long term, and the higher quality of code makes it more maintainable. And ultimately, this can mean saving resources in the long run. Additionally, collaboration leads to better communication across teams, which minimizes mistakes along with making people happier. And sort of touch on the idea of happiness. Personally, I believe the path to fulfillment is helping others, and partly because of that, I'm happy to be contributing to an open source project because I know obviously people have a use for it, and that's good. So summary of my experience. To begin with, it felt like I was dropped in the deep end of a swimming pool, and I don't know, am I drowning? Am I swimming? What's happening? Sort of like a metaphorical convulsing around a code base, trying to cling on to something. But this is kind of like natural, having never worked on an expansive code base before, and I never programmed in a compiled language like Go. So it's really quite a lot, but I initially so obviously when you have an overwhelming task, it's good to break it down to small pieces. So one of the first things that I worked on the project was just a small PR request to do with authentication, where we use behavior driven development to test the code. And after overcoming this challenge with Gustavo, it gave me confidence to try other challenges. Obviously, it hasn't been a linear climb. The feedback in my journey through ESO, and I'm happy to try and tackle new challenges, even if I don't have an exact idea of what to do, and I just feel more confident in myself generally. So that's sort of like partly what this project has brought for me, from like the perspective of getting upskilled within my company and like working on this project. And, you know, perhaps more importantly for me personally in my immediate future is like, this is preparing me for actual billable work, which means that soon I can add value to my own company and to our clients as well. So I think James was going to jump in here, but he's unfortunately had to drop off. So I will roll on ahead to the next part. If you could do the next slide, please, Ben. Cool. So secret. I've talked a lot about my company that I work in. Now I'm going to talk about the actual feature we're developing a bit. So this is what we've been doing on the Beach team. The existing functionality of ESO lets you pull secrets into your Kubernetes cluster, but not the other way around. There's a little bit of discussion at first as to whether we should be able to push secrets from ESO out into other providers. And, you know, there were some other products such as Crossplane that felt, you know, they might already be able to fill this requirement. However, ultimately, after some discussion with the people working over at Crossplane, it was discovered that, you know, it would be beneficial for everyone if ESO was able to do this, and thus Push Secret was born. Next slide, please, Ben. So, sorry, back on if you could. So, yeah, cool. So PR versus trunk. Planning is an important part of the implementation, and we had a variety of things to discuss. The first being trunk-based development. Well, not the first, but something that came up was trunk-based development versus pull request-based. Obviously, when you're working on an open source project, it is going to be better to work in a PR style because anyone could commit code, and there needs to be some way to moderate the workflow. As an organization, though, I would say that Engineer Better is generally more of a fan of trunk-based development, which means we commit all code to the main branch instead of creating others and then merging. Trunk-based development, therefore, works better in smaller teams where trust is high and less. And you know what this means ultimately is like, why would you want to do trunk-based development? Like, it seems like some people will say it's hearsay, and like I haven't been in the tech industry long. I'm sure lots of veterans would crucify me, but from what I've found out, you know, it allows for more truly continuous integrated style of work. Because, you know, if you're using pull requests, you're not continuously integrating to the main product. You're just sort of like, you're integrating into smaller fragments of the whole, and then you're sort of bringing it together in that way. It's not really continuous integration. Obviously, we couldn't just start pushing our code to the main branch of ESO. So our solution was somewhat of a compromise. So with the development of the Push Secret feature, we created a Beach team branch where we do trunk-based development within our own sort of team for this Push Secrets feature. And in order to minimize the merge conflicts when we eventually do merge this feature in, we set up a pipeline which is constantly pulling from main and merging. So, you know, using this strategy, we've been able to enable more synchronistic work flow for the Beach whilst maintaining ESO's PR-based system. Once Push Secret has been implemented for all the providers, we will merge it to main, thus implementing a big feature update. Next slide, please, Ben. Cool. So how does Push Secret actually work? On this slide on the left, you can see an architectural diagram of KubeBuilder. The project is based around KubeBuilder. Yeah, definitely check out if you're interested. It's basically something for like a framework for creating Kubernetes APIs. And on the right, you can see an example of a YAML file push implement custom resource definitions, which are structured around the goals we're trying to achieve, in this case, being pushing a secret. Currently, we have the external secret CRD and the secret store CRD, which we use to pull secrets in from providers to our cluster. The external secrets CRD declares what data to fetch and does this referencing a secret store. The secret store itself defines what provider will be connected to, and whether there's an authentication token, if that needs to be pushed as well, that will be referenced in the secret store. So we already have this existing framework, and it only makes sense to build on it. So the push secret CRD expands on it by using a secret store to push secrets to the correct provider. The external secret will then fetch it back after that to verify that the sync has been successful. If anyone, obviously encourage you all to get involved in the project. If you want to take a more in-depth look at the push secret functionality, check out the Beach Team branch on GitHub. It's all written in Go, and we use reconciliation methods in order to match the spec with the desired state. That's how the push secret works at a high level, like how most things work, I guess, in this in Kubernetes APIs, use reconciliation. So next slide, please, Ben. So where are we currently? Currently, we've implemented the push secret function for Google Cloud Platform, and we're working on implementing this progress with Azure Vault. And while we want to get this push secret out quickly, really our priority as a company and a team is learning. Like, we're using this ESO project as a chance to upskill engineers. And what that means is that delivery won't necessarily be as quick as it could be in the short term. In the long term, though, obviously, as engineers, this will make us better. And if we're still contributing to the project, we'll be able to contribute, in a quicker fashion. But again, what this really means is that, although we're working on it, and this is literally like treating it like a full-time job, it's like we can still always use help from the community. So next slide, please, Ben. So final slide, I just want to thank you guys for listening to me waffle on for like 10 minutes or so. It's been a pleasure. Again, I encourage anyone that wants to get involved, and I'm happy to take questions if people have any. Thanks.
So let's start off by saying, if people want, let me ask some general questions that I've got floating around. So first of all, how big is the current Beach team?
Cool. So the current Beach team is ever expanding. I think we have around 8 people on there with a mixture of people from EB and CS.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you're doing mainly pair programming. Are you also using mob programming?
Yeah, we are doing mobs. I was actually working in free, which is this week, which is more of a mob. It really depends like where we are and who's available and what tickets are up. But yeah, mob programming is obviously also a very good style, depending on your goals and what you're trying to achieve. I found it pretty useful for being upskilled in Kubernetes, having been working with Arm from CS, who has a lot of Kubernetes knowledge, with Lily and Adrian throughout the week.
Yeah. And so if somebody wants to join you and see what's going on in the mobs, or try out some of the pair programming to really get to grips with the project and learn more, how would they go about doing that?
Cool. So you can drop a message in the ESO channel on the Kubernetes Slack. Also feel free to reach out to Gustavo, and I'm sure he'll redirect you. Or if you feel so, message me. My email is, I can drop it in the chat.
Don't worry. Yeah, please do drop it in the chat. But I would also encourage people just to contact us through the meetup page. They can send a message through that as well. What are the... So obviously you've learned a lot about this particular project. And I assume you've also learned a lot about open source in general. What's your kind of intention from this point on around open source in general? Like where have you got to with that?
So I mean, the way I view open source, like generally, is that it's great because slight divergence, but in terms of like scientific papers and stuff, people always trying to put money on knowledge, and tools and stuff that helps people. And I'm not really a big proponent of that. So I'm like all for like open source technology. I'll probably keep contributing to different projects in the future, even if it's not ESO per se. And I think yeah, open source is definitely the way to go. There's a reason why governments would rather use open source projects than get locked into a vendor.
Yep. Yeah. And I hope that the sort of open door to people who want to start contributing on this project can be kept there and open. One of the things I'd really like to see is for you guys as a team to think about what changes we could make to the project to make it really easy for people to start contributing. And what is it that people really need to be able to start contributing? Like, is this something that you started thinking about?
Yeah, I'd say so. I've started writing an onboarding doc, which is initially was kind of just, I thought, like internal use, but actually think about, I did think it would be good to sort of maybe publish this out. It's not very official documentation at all. It's like me scribbling over some stuff. But yeah, there's that. And I would definitely advise, if you want to get involved, check out the Cube Builder website and check out the actual External Secrets website. There's like lots of useful information. Check the GitHub, and also just feel free to reach out to people.
Yeah, I think it would be really great to be able to use your insight to be able to improve things on the website, etc. Right? I'm sure there are some extra things we could add.
Sorry, did my connection drop out?
I was just saying it would be great to be able to use your experience to really improve that sort of journey for people who want to start contributing, whether there are things we add to the website or pieces that we reorganize or whatever you think is going to really help. Does anybody else have any questions? No, silence is golden. Thanks very much, Will.
Well, my pleasure. Thank you a lot.
I'm clicking on the wrong screen. So we have a feedback form here that people can access using the QR code or grabbing the URL there. What we'd really like to know is what's worked well and how can we improve this meetup in future. We're obviously looking around the community to find people who have things to present. We were particularly keen to present the beach this time, as it would be great to be able to see people starting to work with the beach team while they're there. I think in future we'll be much more likely to be looking at people's specific use cases. What we'd really love to hear is some horror stories, like things that went really horribly wrong. Everybody loves a disaster story. And anyone who's got a disaster story to tell about something that happened related to ESO, we'd really love to hear about the disaster and how it got fixed. In my mind, one of the things I think about is I think some people probably come to ESO after a disaster when they look at how to repair. So yeah, I think that's really the end of the presentation section. So we can move into our gather space and the room that we have there. We can talk in small groups within Gather, or we can play games. Emin, did you want to talk a little bit more to introduce it to people?
Yeah, of course. If people want to join to the Gather space, just use the QR code or the link, and I should just put the link in the chat as well. Let me just, yeah. So Gather is a virtual event platform, let's say it like that, and we can have a trivia game there, and there are some private spaces or other games that you can play with each other, and just we can get socialized in that place. So we can just go to Gather Space.
If everybody's got the link now, I was going to stop sharing my screen, and we can drop off the Zoom call and just meet up in Gather, I believe. I'll keep this Zoom meeting open for anyone who struggles to get into Gather. Feel free to let me know and I'll help you out.
All right. See you in Gather. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.